The first time Bella noticed it was something small. She stood in the middle of the kitchen, hand hovering over a bowl that had already been stirred. The spoon dipped once more, though she hadn't moved it. The motion was too smooth, too certain, like a decision had been made somewhere else. Mortimer, she called, her voice careful, testing the edges of reality. Did you tell me to do that? In the study,
Hey.
Mortimer Goth did not look up immediately. His pen continued its steady glide across the page, ink forming words he had no memory of choosing. Then abruptly it stopped. Silence settled between them like a held breath. No, he finally said. I was about to ask you the same thing. That was the beginning.
Wef
At
wef.
first, they treated it like a
Benusib.
shared hallucination, a curiosity. Bella would reach for a book she didn't want. Mortimer would stand up mid sentence and walk into another room, only to stop halfway there, confused and vaguely embarrassed. But the pauses became longer, the movements sharper, their lives structured. Bella began to feel it most strongly when she looked at the doors. Sometimes she would want to leave a room and her body would simply refuse. Other times she would find herself walking across the mansion with absolute certainty, as if following a path already drawn. There's something wrong with us, Bella whispered one night. No, Mortimer replied, staring at his own hands as they folded neatly atop his desk without permission. Not us.
Ah.
He looked up then, meeting her gaze with something colder. Something is using us. They tested it. Small rebellions at first. Bella tried to stand still when the urge came to move. Her muscles trembled violently until she gave in. Mortimer attempted to speak nonsense during conversations, but the words came out polished and socially acceptable. Even their
Yibsy.
emotions began to feel
Fadish.
guided, manufactured. One evening, Mortimer laughed at a
Garshadar.
joke he found utterly
Gargard.
dull. He
Zud
felt the
zud.
laughter bubble out of him anyway, bright and convincing. I didn't think that was funny, he said afterwards,
Garsabar.
voice low and strained. Bella didn't answer because she was smiling
Fadish.
too.
Ah.
The realization came slowly, then all at once. They were not just being controlled, they were being watched. It changed something in Mortimer. At first, it was
Ah.
subtle, a stiffness in his posture, a tightening of his jaw whenever he felt that invisible pull. But over time, resentment began to bloom, dark and invasive. He hated not choosing. He hated being moved like an object. He hated the feeling most when it came to Bella, because sometimes he would look at her, his wife, the mother of his children, and feel nothing. Or worse, he would feel something that wasn't his. Dina Caliente entered his life like a script he hadn't written. The first time he saw her, Mortimer
Samso.
felt the pull before he
Sabado.
even recognized her face. His feet
Yibo.
carried him forward, his voice warmed, his hand reached for hers. Inside, he recoiled. No, he thought, no. But his body leaned closer anyway.
Inushka.
The affair unfolded with horrifying precision. Expensive dinners he didn't want to attend, jewelry he didn't want to buy, vacations he didn't want to take. Each moment was extravagant, romantic, deliberate, and completely hollow. Dina laughed at his jokes, touched his arms, leaned into him like she belonged there. Mortimer smiled back. Inside,
Haspa.
he felt sick. I don't like you, he told her once in a rare moment when the control loosened
Oi.
just enough for the truth to slip out through. Dina blinked, confused. What? His face softened instantly with the words overwritten. I said, I don't want know what I do without you. Her smile returned. Mortimer wanted to scream. He began to hate everything about her, her voice, her perfume, her presence. But most of all, he hated what being with her meant. Every dinner was a betrayal he could feel but not stop. Every gift was a choice made for him. Every touch was a violation of something he still stubbornly believed belonged to Bella. Bella
Oh,
knew
for ya?
before she knew.
Oh.
She felt it in the gaps. The way Mortimer would leave and not remember deciding to go, the way his
Yarlonak.
affection came in
Faria.
bursts, then
Simsim.
vanished entirely,
Kiru.
the way her own body sometimes
Run.
refused to follow him, like she was being kept away.
Yibo.
When she finally saw them together, really saw them together, it wasn't a discovery, it was confirmation. The beach was bright that day,
Das.
too bright, the kind of perfect artificial sunlight that made everything feel staged. Mortimer sat
Ah.
beside Dina on a pristine blanket, her laughter cutting through the sound of the waves.
Yibs.
His arm
Yibs.
rested on her
Happy.
shoulders. He could feel every second of it, and he hated it. Then he saw Bella. Standing at the edge of the sand, Cassandra at her
Gosh.
side, silent
Gaga.
and pale.
Who's
Alexander slightly behind, his small hands clenched into fists. They weren't supposed to be
Dina?
here.
Jessica. Belinda
Mortimer
Grinia.
felt it
Fine.
immediately, the tension in the air like something had gone wrong in whatever force dictated their lives. Bella stepped forward. Each step looked deliberate, but Mortimer could see the resistance in her eyes. You brought them, he said, his voice smooth and calm. Inside, he was begging. Please don't let this happen. I wanted them to see, Bella replied. Her expression flickered, grief breaking through the mask. To see
Go
what we
lava.
don't get to choose. The world held its breath. For a moment, just a moment, Mortimer felt the control loosen. He stood abruptly, stepping away from Dina. I don't want this, he said, the words raw, desperate. Bella's eyes widened. Cassandra took a step forward.
Shabni
Alexander
Bobina
whispered, Dad.
Savara.
Mortimer reached for them, and then the pull returned, violent, absolute. His hand dropped, his face hardened. I've made my decision, he heard himself say. No, no, no. I'm leaving you, Bella. The rest happened like a nightmare he couldn't wake from. The divorce, the marriage, the house no longer theirs. Cassandra's silence turning into absence. Alexander's voice fading from his memory. He signed papers he didn't agree with, spoke words he didn't believe, watched his life dismantle itself piece by piece. And though it all, he remained unaware. Living with Dina was unbearable. Her presence filled every room. Her touch lingered on him like something he couldn't wash away. Your distance, she complained one evening. I've given you everything. Mortimer looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time there was no interference. No, he said quietly, you didn't. She frowned. What does that mean? It means none of this is real. The cracks widened after that. Mortimer began to see patterns, repeating conversations, identical days, moments resting, resetting themselves when they weren't wrong. He would stand in a room and feel
Lovers
time
both.
stutter
Kuya Taru.
like a skip
Arabeth.
record, like someone deciding what came next. He stopped sleeping, stopped pretending, started talking to the empty spaces.
Oh.
I know you're there, he would say. Just let me choose one thing. Nothing ever answered, but sometimes, just sometimes, he felt the hesitation. Bella moved on, and they have no other option, but she never forgot. She still felt it too, the invisible hand, the quiet commands. She learned to live within it, to find meaning in the small moments she could claim as her own, a glance, a breath, a thought no one could rewrite. Mortimer didn't adapt. He unraveled. The mansion grew quieter. Dina stopped laughing. Even the world itself seemed to pull away from him, focusing elsewhere. But Mortimer remained, aware, trapped, watching his own life play out without him. One evening he stood before a mirror. His reflection smiled. He didn't. And for a brief, terrible moment, the reflection moved on its own. That was when he understood he wasn't just being controlled, he was being replaced. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing he could do to stop it.